Sorry, I just wanted to do a little new intro to the podcast. I don't know why it was that. I just got flustered. So here we are. We're back. We're ready to do it all over again. It's Monday with the Nathan Joseph podcast. Yeah, full of energy today. This week's topic, as requested by you, how to implement healthy habits. So I'm going to go in with that. I'm also going to mix that with a bit of a life update, because you know what, I ain't giving you one of them in a little while, but we're going with healthy habits to begin with. So basically, I think that my opinion on this is it starts with being able to identify bad habits that you have, because how can you aim for good habits if you don't know what bad habits you have? In the sense that, for me personally, I believe that a good habit is only changing what was once a bad habit, right? So let's say you're somebody that plays computer games until 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning and you're not getting enough sleep. Yeah, so you want to replace that with getting more sleep. So you've got a bad habit, which then changes to good. But the problem is like in that example, bad habits, why we implement them is because they give us pleasure, a lot of pleasure, and not happiness. For example, alcohol. Drinking alcohol is a great example. Yeah, because you go out on a night out, and on that night, sometimes, if you're somebody that isn't really naturally confident or whatever, alcohol can really enhance your confidence. You could even then be in a position where you're out on the pool. Do you know what I mean? You've pulled someone, whether you're a boy or a girl, you've pulled someone buzzing, and if you pull someone, obviously, if you're having sex the right way, there's going to be a lot of pleasure associated with the drinking, because the drinking makes you more confident, and then the confidence gets you a partner, and then the partner you sleep with, which gives you pleasure. But the next day, that doesn't really give you happiness. Yeah, you're not happy that you've done that. Or, in my opinion, the reason that was me probably when I was at uni, I'd say. Whereas now, the thought of having a one night stand is really not disgusting, because it seems like I'm judging people, but it's just not what I'm about, to be honest. So I will choose what is going to make me happy in the long term rather than those short term pleasures now. And don't get me wrong, I have been there, yeah, where the bad habit was instant gratification, instant acknowledgement, everything came really quickly. With bad habits, it's what you want right now, you will get. Yeah. Whereas when you implement good habits, you're putting what you want in the future over what you want now, which will give you happiness, not pleasure. So that's where we're starting with this one, right? So the first place you need to start with your habits is, if you've got a habit that you want to implement, I would say look at what sits in its place right now. For example, my habits over the last 4 to 6 weeks have been a little bit all over the gaff, to be honest. And I had to have a word with myself the other day, really. It was actually over the weekend, and I had to highlight and think, what are these bad habits that I'm implementing at the moment that can be replaced in that moment by good habits. For example, I'm not saying listening to music is a bad habit, but I would go on a walk. My walks are for me to learn new things, because you're an idiot if you don't want to continue to learn and progress. So when I go for an hour walk every day, I will listen to an hour of an audiobook, which most of the books that I read are around 6 to 9 hours. So that's a book a week that I should be reading. But I haven't been, because I've been listening to music, and it's one of those where it's like, oh, do you know what? I just want a bit of a time out. But then my brain is only going to be working in that. It's not a bad habit, it's just well, it is a bad habit, because I'm like, I just want to listen to the songs that I want to listen to right now, rather than learn for the future, which will make me better. Like, I started a book today, and it's called, what's it called? I think it's The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday. Yeah, The Obstacle is the Way. Already, my mindset today is on new levels compared to the last couple of weeks. So implementing good habits is first identifying where you have shit ones, and where you can, in Atomic Habits, another book that I've read, which has allowed me to say this, you can habit stack, yeah? So, for example, when I'm going on my walk, I'm thinking I've got an hour here, and that could be an hour spent doing what? Listening to music or improving my mind. So therefore, I'll walk and listen to Audible. When I brush my teeth, I'm glad that none of you can see it, but when I brush my teeth, I stretch my legs. So I'll go onto one foot, stretch my quad, then the other quad, then both my hamstrings. So I know, other than in the gym, I'm not going to be looking to stretch at any other part of the day. Whereas when I do that, now if I brush my teeth, it's weird for me not to stretch. So I'm stretching 3 times a day now, rather than 1. Do you know what I mean? So it's important to find and locate where you can add these habits in, because I think what a lot of people do is they think, oh, well, I've been told that this habit is going to make this happen, or I'm going to get this outcome if I implement this habit. And then you try and implement all of these fucking habits at once. And when you do that, it's not easy to learn a new habit or replace an old one. So your head gets absolutely scrambled with trying to be perfect on so many things, and then ultimately the results are shit because you can't stick to what you're doing. So what I do if I've fallen out of habits, it's really easy. As I mentioned, habit stacking. So I was waking up. One of my atrocious habits was vaping. It's not good for you. I've never smoked a fag in my life, but I was a serial vapor. So I quit that. I think I quit that on Saturday night. And I'm actually not even craving a vape at all at the minute. But what I've done and I've noticed is, okay, so for me, in the morning, I'd wake up and I'd have a vape, yeah? This is before gym or whatever, like that would be my first action, wake up, vape. So instead of that, I've replaced that bad habit with a good one. So rather than wake up, vape, scroll through socials as I wake up, it's now wake up, 5-minute meditation, jump straight into a cold shower. Yeah? So I'm not losing any time implementing my new habit, because I'm just replacing where I had a bad one. So therefore it's not causing any stress to my life. I'm not thinking, fucking hell, I'm going to be late because I'm doing X, Y, and Z. Or it's really hard to fit this in. I'm just removing, okay, I spend 5 minutes in the morning having a vape and going through social media. What I'm going to do is fuck that off and spend that 5 minutes meditating. And then I'm going to jump into my cold shower. So I've lost no time, but the change that I'll experience from the bad habits of vaping, obviously that's not going to be great for your health, but also going on social media first thing in the morning, you're already invested in everyone else's life other than yours. So for me, a great habit to have is to spend at least the first half an hour to an hour of your day in your own head. Don't speak to anyone if you can. Like, it sounds really rude, but for me, the amount of difference I feel inside myself when I'm not drawn into someone else's bullshit at the start of the day is crazy. So yeah, and then furthermore, so you just gotta look where you can replace shit habits with good habits, right? That can even be with a diet. Is a really easy way to look at it. You could, if you're someone you're having fucking 5 takeaways a week, that was me last week. This week it's like, okay, that is probably not sustainable. That doesn't make me feel great. I think I had chips like 5 or 6 times last week, and honestly, not that I've got fatter, but I just felt like, so this week it's been right. Make sure that I've got food in the fridge, make sure that I'm doing X, Y, and Z. So it's about preparing for the habit as well, because when you're trying to break a bad one, it is so easy to fall back into it. Do you know what I mean? Hence why Saturday I was like, fuck this, I'm quitting vaping. And I just threw a full vape into the bin. Because I thought, if I don't do that, then tomorrow I've already failed at the first hurdle, because I'm like, oh, sod it. I'll just finish this one and then I'll stop. Whereas, no, just be a bit more headstrong, innit? But implementing good habits, and this is what I say to my clients all the time. So when you start my coaching, online coaching, right, you're going to get a training program, you're going to get your calories, you're going to get your protein, you're going to get healthy habits that will really change your life. But that's like 6 new habits that you've got to, well, between 6 and 8 new habits that you're going to implement in your life that you haven't been doing already. So when you're doing that, it is very daunting to try and completely change who you are overnight. So what I will say to my clients is, and even to myself, if I've been in a pattern where a lot of habits have fallen off, I'm not tomorrow going to say, right, tomorrow I'm flipping my life on its head and I'm going to do all of these amazing habits that make me feel like out of this world. Because then it's going to be too much of a shake up and it's going to be stressful, and then they're going to fall by the wayside. So the best way to implement new habits consistently is add them one by one. So that doesn't mean neglect the others, but you'll say, do a habit. Say meditating is something that you want to start doing, or journaling, right? You might think, right, okay, well, tonight I want to meditate for 5 minutes, yeah, before I go to bed. And this is how I do my meditation and journaling. So let's say you want to do you want to meditate before you go to bed, right? You're in bed, so I don't care who you are. You can have 5 minutes of putting your phone down, very important, and meditating. And all the thoughts that are in your head or in your mind, in the back of your head, whatever, they'll come to the front and you can just meditate on them. What does that actually mean? Blah, 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 blah. But then off the back of that meditation, that might take you a week to do consistently. And then you might be like, right, after I've meditated, I'm going to go straight to sleep. But then after a week, you might be like, well, I've just meditated on these thoughts and they are just thoughts. This is how I got into it. So now I actually want to journal on what those thoughts mean for me and how I can navigate them. So then it's sort of, I stacked a habit on top of a habit because I was going to get the most out of it. So it's not about becoming this superhuman overnight. That's what I think is really important to remember. To be consistent with habits, you have to add them slowly, because otherwise, how many times have you started, I'm going to start gym on Monday, you go to the gym for like 4 days, you eat salads every day for 4 days, every meal for 4 days, and then come Friday, it's like, where's that takeaway? I'm not going gym. Shit, it's happened again. Do you know what I mean? It's because you're trying to do too much at once. You need to slow it down and get to a point where you're just like, yeah, this is manageable to then add something else to. As I say, and as I've said throughout this podcast, for me personally, to habit stack is the most important thing ever. So if I look at my morning in Australia, I will wake up, listen to affirmations whilst I'm in a cold shower, meditate before I leave for sunrise, listen to Audible whilst I'm walking down to sunrise, have my dip, listen to a podcast on my way back from sunrise, have a coffee, go to the gym, and then that's 7 things for my mental health that I've done probably before 8 a.m. Yeah, and that just all that comes from is stacking habits on top of habits. Because if I was to say, right, I'm going to do these 2 habits now, and then in the middle of the day I'm going to meditate for 5 minutes, it's more often than not it's not going to happen, because I'm not stacking them together. Whereas if I'm disciplined in a sense of like, okay, I've got this time where I'm walking, or I've got this time where I'm in the shower, what can I be listening to? What can I do to develop my mind whilst I'm, rather than just standing there, or rather than just listening to music? Do you know what I mean? So if you're performing good habits, I think it's really important to get as many good habits attached to that. And you'll find your own patterns, and it will become, obviously a habit is something you need to form, but it will get to a point where that's just part of your identity. And once it's locked in as part of your identity and who you are, it's going nowhere. It's going nowhere. And if it does go somewhere, think of the uncomfort that you have, the discomfort that you have when you're trying to build new habits, because you're pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone. When the good habits drop off, it's really weird, because you feel a lot of discomfort by not performing the habits that you want to. So it works in your favour. So what my top tips would be, identify your bad habits and see what good habits you can replace them with. Habit stack. Don't try and do every single habit at once. And I think there was another one in there, but I can't remember. But we will, titties. Don't worry, push 50s on these today. If you're watching on YouTube, you can just see me caressing my titties. But if you're listening, I'm really sorry for that, because you might have been like, wow, that was such a good podcast, and now he's talking about titties. But that is another week wrapped up. Honestly, again, love these recommendations. I can't remember if I said I was going to do a life update at the start of this. All right, let me do a 2-minute life update, because then that'll bring us to 20 minutes. So, visa situation, on my days, it is doing my nut, but everything happens for a reason. And do you know what? It's not a backup plan. It's for a time for now. Basically, you're listening to this on Monday. If the visa's not in by Friday, man's going to go and live in Bali. What are you saying? How exciting is that? But people are like, oh, why do you want to rush back so much? What's so bad about the UK? 1, the weather's changing right now. 2, I don't feel like I have my independence. I know it sounds weird, but I love being in my own space. Like, I remember last Christmas I went on a massive group holiday, and at the time I was thinking my idea of a holiday is to go away on my own and be away from everyone and throw my phone in the sea, because I just want to relax. So I feel like my independence has been lost. That's why I want to get it back. That's why it would be super exciting to go Bali. However, today I actually put it on my story that was my plan, and one of my friends actually DM'd me saying that I can email immigration to get an answer. So fingers crossed for me. If you're listening to this and you haven't got your fingers crossed, what are you playing at? Pray for Nath, manifest this shit. And yeah, I feel, as I say, this weekend I was honestly sick of myself. I thought, you're just playing the victim. You are playing the victim. You are someone. I am someone. I like to take charge. I'm in charge of my life, yeah? Life don't happen to me. I make it happen. So therefore, the time is now. The time is now. I'm living in the present. If I go to Bali, mint. If I get my visa this week, mint. Either way, life is looking good. Buddha but. I will catch you in the next one. Have a great week.